Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we're going to be doing my 6-month postpartum update. I did this at a month, I think, and so I thought it'd just be a good halfway point. So I'm going to separate this by talking half about how I'm doing and, you know, what I've been going through, and then half of how Elijah's doing, what we're working on, all that good stuff. So if you are interested in hearing how, basically a life update, how life is going, then keep on watching. I literally cannot believe we are I've been a mom for 6 months. That's crazy to me. I personally did not think I was going to be a mom, to be honest with you. I always struggled when I was a teenager, my late teens, with hormones and things like that. So I was didn't really even understand much how anatomy worked, as far as even when you don't have a period and don't think you're doing good, you can still get pregnant. And I did. So yeah, I was okay, this is going to be an exciting little journey, and it has been. I am so obsessed with my son. I could not imagine loving something this much. I love my husband. Riley and I were besties, but it's different. I don't know, I feel the best way to describe it is when you fall in love with someone, it takes a minute to kind of, you know, get comfortable with them, get to the point where you're ride or die. And I feel when you have a kid, it's a type of love where it's if something were to go down, immediately right then and there, I'm gonna take your place. I'll lay my life for you. I'm gonna ride for you no matter what. I don't even know this kid, I just had this kid, but I would literally take a bullet for him. And that is kind of, I don't know, that's the best I can explain it. It's different than falling in love with someone. It's when you have a kid, or you, no matter what that means, whether it's, you know, biologically, adoption, whatever, when you love a child, it's just I don't know, it's just different. And I know everyone says that, but it's just true. So okay, I'm let me get my thoughts straight here. If you don't know, if you're new here, my son was almost 6.5 weeks early. I was just on the cusp of 34 weeks when I had him. So when we've been going through this time, especially now we hit the 6-month period, you can definitely tell that he was that early. Not in a bad way or anything. His doctor, we actually just had a 6-month exam. He did amazing when it came to figuring out where he's at developmentally. When a lot of time when you have premature babies, they're going to be that far behind mentally, however far they were from being full term. So Elijah, with being 6 weeks early, he is actually about 4.5 months old in his brain right now. So there's only a couple things he's behind on. Some kids have it where they're not behind at all. Some are right at what their, you know, birth date age is, and which that's actually called adjusted age, I should say that. And but Elijah, he's done really well. Right now he just has to get down his fine motor skills, which is just being able to grab things with all his fingers and switch hands. It's just a lot of hand-eye, if you will. That's just kind of what we're working on still. But other than that, he's right at where he needs to be as far as speech-wise, where he's babbling. He's going up and down with the pitches of his screams and things like that. He's experimenting with his voice, basically. And he is very active. Strength wise, he's right there at the 6-month-old. He's standing up and you're just holding his hands to keep him balanced, but he's doing all the other work, and I'm just really proud of him. I've been trying really hard these past few months to try to help him, you know, stay up, you know, with his little baby friends and things like that. And a lot of time when you have a premature baby, they can stay their adjusted age developmentally until a year to 18 months, I think, is what I've been told since I've had him. I've had a lot of people tell me different timelines, but I think a year to 18 months is the general consensus. So, you know, I just think he's perfect no matter what. But yeah, we're doing really good. And we actually just started solid foods too. He is killing it with the baby foods and things like that. Right now he really enjoys green beans and bananas. Those are his go-tos. We tried the oatmeal and things like that. He hated it. And I haven't quite done too many, I don't really know how to explain it, prunes, or kind of I don't know, more odd foods, I guess. To me, they're a little more odd. I haven't really tried those yet, but those are definitely his 2 favorites. I've been using the beech nut brand for right now, and he's just been eating it up. He loves that. So I was trying to find something that was like a little bit more like clean and things like that. I really want to try from farm to table, I think it's what it's called, or once upon a farm, or farm Anyway, I couldn't find it at my Target. I was told that it was at Target, but maybe I have to go to a different one. But I was kind of upset because I really wanted to give that a try, but we'll have to go back again because he is, like I said, he is tearing it up right now. He has not found a flavor he hasn't liked quite yet. So once we get these last two down, I just got 2 glass jars of each flavor because you're supposed to do it for 3 days to make sure they don't have any allergies. So he's really been like eating both jars, but I've noticed if like your kid is a little bit not as enthusiastic as Elijah, 1 jar of baby food is definitely enough. But Elijah's like tearing up a jar, possibly in one day if he really likes the flavor. So I got 2 just in case, but he's living his best life. It's not as hard for me as I thought it was going to be watching him go through new stages like this. I thought it was gonna make me sad and be like, oh, my baby's growing up, and I don't know, just make me miss my little newborn. But I am like really, really proud of him and like all that he is. Just, I mean, it was not expected for him, one, to be in the NICU as long as he was. It was expected for him to be in longer. He's only for 28 days, I think it was. They expected him to be in there until term, which his birth date was November 10th. His full term date was December 25th. So they expected him to, and then to be in some more. So he really, and then now I'm all over the place. So he killed it on that. He just got done with his oxygen test, which I don't know if you guys follow me on other platforms, but for the past like, I would say 4 months, we were trying to get down his pulse ox test. He hasn't really, nothing's been failing them. It's just like, there's been weird things going on the other side, on like the middleman's part, when people we get the pulse ox from. So it's been taking quite a while, but he finally got done with that. I knew he was gonna smash it. He did. That's just to make sure that he has gotten over how he was in the NICU. Being born at 3-4 weeks, his lungs were not ready. They tried to give me a steroid while I was in labor, kind of like help his lungs expand and all that, but it was too late. So he was only receiving less than 30% oxygen when he was born, like just breathing on his own. So the pulse ox tests outside of the NICU are just to make sure that he is thriving and not still having, you know, residual issues from how he was when he was born. I have an app called Wonder, I think it's called. It kind of helps you to see the milestones and just little differences you should be seeing in your child at certain ages. So I've been using that to kind of help me with what I can work on with Elijah, to help him keep thriving and keep up with his like full term age, even though his adjusted age, like I said, is 6 weeks behind. And it's been working so far. I totally credit that app to how he is right now. I think without that, I would have no idea like what to work on him with, what to expect. When the time came to like experiment with his voice, I used that info that I got from the app about that to kind of like, I don't know, I was always mirroring like what he could try to be doing, and I also always echoed him. And I think now that has really helped him kind of I don't know, just be like babbling as much as he does, because it's pretty much constant. And he said dada for the first time last night. We literally almost died. Like, it was so freaking cute. Definitely not a constant yet, but he said it 3 different times, and it was like super close, like dada, like compound wordish. It wasn't like da and da. So we were super excited, and I just cannot believe he's just great. I am so proud of him. But right now he's projected to not really have any developmental delays as far as getting up to a year old is. He's doing great. I just put his bassinet back in his room. We actually, like, believe it or not, we literally never used his bassinet like this whole entire time. I don't know why, but in my like one of the moms groups I'm on like Facebook or whatever, it's like for premature babies, like moms of premature babies, and I feel like the general consensus is our babies are super clingy, and a lot of us just co-sleep up until it gets time to get in the crib and stuff. And Elijah was definitely that way. Like, he is like not having it. Like, you think I am chopping off a limb or something when he is put down by himself. He's napping by himself, but overnight, I don't know, something's like different to him where he's like, absolutely not. I don't know what you guys think this is, but I need to be in like an arm. I always just like cradle him, and he's always just done really good. Obviously, like for the first like month or so, he had oxygen on him, so it like made me a little less scared, because obviously you can find co-sleeping horror stories wherever and at any time, unfortunately. So it was a point of anxiety for me, but I feel like at some point you just have to do what is best for you and your baby. and I just found that both of us had more peace and better sleep and just less stress in our lives if we were co-sleeping, and that's just what we've been doing. And I just put his bassinet back in his room. We ended up never using it, and it led me to think about all the things that I got for him when he was in a newborn, or like while he was still in utero, that I like literally never used. So I think I'm gonna do a video about that, of like what we purchased and what actually got used for, you know, if you're having a baby or you're in that stage right now where you're kind of like figuring out all the things that you need to accumulate. Because if I go back in time, I wouldn't have bought a lot of things, honestly. And I did really good. I like really weeded out a lot of things I thought were a little bit too extra in my opinion, and I was pretty minimalist, but still it's really crazy how different every baby is and like what they actually enjoy. So I'm definitely gonna keep that in mind for, you know, my friends and things like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a second baby. I feel really content with just our one, and Riley feels that way too. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I've been noticing that's been like a very big point of like curiosity for people since I've been in the 6-month stage. It's like, when are you gonna have another baby? And the like reaction I get when I say that we might be one and done is like insane. Like, you would think that I said something like horrific. I don't know. I understand some people's positions on it as far as like, I don't know, I feel like when people like debate it, they're always like, well, I had a great time with my siblings growing up. I have 4 siblings. I had a great time too. However, the fact of the matter is I would have never known any differently if I didn't have any siblings. So it's not like Elijah has a brother or sister right now. I'm gonna like, you know, separate them or anything. He just doesn't know. And I feel like, I don't know, a lot of people in my life, if they would have just done, you know, they say like if they would just done what was best for them, and especially from coming from like the woman person who, you know, creates the baby primarily, everyone I hear always says just do what's best for me, go off of my experience and make that decision. Don't feel pressured by like, you know, societal norms and things like that, because I feel like it is very normal to keep having more children after your first baby, whether that's 1 more or 3 more or 6 more. It's just like, it's just a thing, and I will only do that if I feel like it's right for me, because personally my pregnancy was very, very hard on me, and I think that's also what played into me having my son so prematurely, because there really was no red flags as far as like blood work or anything going on with him. I was just exhausted. Like, I could feel my body was just like, we've had enough. And I started having active labor symptoms at 28 weeks. Like, he was engaging into my pelvis, and like I was having Braxton Hicks constantly, and my pelvis was just so uncomfortable. Like, I was pretty much bedridden from 20 weeks to 34 weeks because I just couldn't even walk or stand for very long because of just how much pressure Elijah's body was putting on like my muscles and my bones and things like that. So it was a lot, and I was sick my whole entire pregnancy. I had morning sickness from the jump up until literally the week I started having contractions, and it was a lot. It was a lot. Not to also mention that I had to, I've always struggled with depression. I have been diagnosed since I was 17, but I have always known since I was like, I wouldn't say 10. If I knowing how I know now with my triggers, and when I know that I'm about to go into like a really bad, you know, time frame, I would say 10. I've struggled with that type of like, I don't even know, like, I'll be doing good, and then it feels like, you know, like the dimmers on walls and things like that, it feels like someone is just turning it down, and all of a sudden everything is just like not as colorful, not as easy. It's really difficult to like, I don't know, just function. And I feel like if I look back in my life, I would say pretty much since 10 I have noticed that going on throughout my life. Obviously it's always a constant in the back of my mind, but you definitely have harder times than not. But I got diagnosed when I was 17, and when I got pregnant I could definitely notice it getting worse, especially with the triggers of just like my body image and things like that. I was horrified of getting pregnant because I just always struggled with my body image and my self-image as well, as long as I can remember. So I had to end up bumping up my medication dosage because I was just like distraught, unfortunately, from just a lot of things triggering me. And so that was really hard also. And I just feel like, I don't know, it wasn't a good time. I feel like some people, pregnancy is a really magical, wonderful experience, and they're so joyful and just so I don't know, happy to be having that experience. And I feel like for other people, it's like, I can't wait for this to be over and just to have my baby. And you know, this is a really I understand what's going on. I understand that's a really, you know, beautiful thing, creating a baby. However, it's just not for me, and I feel like I'm definitely one of those people. But anyways, fast forward 6 months, I feel like I'm doing really good now. I've actually haven't had to be on my medication for about 3 months now, and that has pretty much never happened ever since I got on it. I feel like a lot of people, after they have a baby, they kind of step into like this new version of themselves, positive or negative, unfortunately. But for me, I've never felt more confident in my, not even like my body, but like myself, and like my opinions and my like goals, and I don't know, just my self-worth to myself in my head just like completely exploded. And I just felt like I could breathe, you know. I don't know if that really makes sense to anybody, but if you've gone through that, then you know what I mean. But I don't know, it just felt like a new me was here, and I was like, it's about to get real. Because I don't know, I just feel like I've always felt like if I could just get over the hump of literally loathing myself, everything would be going great. And I was right. So I've been doing really good, and I feel like, especially as of late, so I recently posted on my Instagram, it's archived now, but I recently posted on my Instagram that I was leaving the body positivity community. I was stepping more into like body neutrality and just being friends with myself, you know. I felt like it was doing more damage to my journey to constantly be making content about my body. And I feel like you can definitely notice in my content that I stepped away from that, I would say, with the past like 8 to 10 months for sure. And I just was really scared about speaking on that and what people would think and things like that. But now, like I said, I don't know, there's just like a new me's being reborn, and I just feel like there's no time like the present to be authentic to yourself. The only person's time you're wasting is yours, you know. So I finally just announced, I'm sure you have noticed, but I've stepped away from body positivity community. I no longer want to associate my entire content and being around that anymore. And it's kind of strange, okay? I was worried about making any like adjustments to my life that may seem like, to some people on TikTok, like I'm not happy with myself because of the movement I had positioned and aligned myself with. However, it's gotten to a point where, like I said, I thought to myself, whose time am I wasting not being happy with myself, and being happy with the content I'm making, not being happy with just anything other than myself? Like, who does this really affect? So recently I finally just started living how I wanted to, and yeah, got rid of worrying and like thinking. It felt like I was thinking about my body all the time, which I really was, because I was having to make content about it all the time. And I loved how that resonated with people, and I loved connecting with other women in that sense. But I think for some people, me being one of them, it just becomes a little bit too much, and I think it does more damage having to put yourself out there. And I feel like TikTok especially, it's a very toxic place, and you end up in the wrong people's algorithm. It becomes extremely damaging. So yeah, I think I'm just more in like the body neutrality, if I had to label myself, you know what I'm saying? But recently I started eating much cleaner. I'm not like doing a specific diet, just because dieting and the mindset of dieting is so freaking triggering for me from when I was younger. But I'm just eating what's best for me, eating what makes me feel good, eating what makes me feel whole. And it's really crazy how much changing your diet, I was learning, especially for women, changing your diet is like 80% of like the journey when it comes to changing your lifestyle. Not even just weight loss, but changing your lifestyle. The food we put in our body really has so much to do with like hormones, blood sugar levels, energy, and things. I can't even tell you the last time I joyfully woke up before like 10 a.m. and I feel like a lot of that had to do with like depression, stuff like that. My biggest triggers, like what, not triggers, but tells, I guess you could say, what I'm noticing that things are kind of going downhill is insomnia. And I just pretty much always struggled with that. That was my number one symptom, and still is. I still battle with that, but I feel like that had something to do with it. But just like the energy, like I felt so drained all the time. And I can tell you, just in this week alone, I have woke up so joyfully at like 7 a.m. I'm like ready to go, ready to wake up my baby, ready to get the day started. Like before, I couldn't think of anything worse. So yeah, I feel like my mental's doing really good. I feel like I can definitely tell a change in like my body and just like my mentality, on top of like changing the way I eat and things like that. And yeah, I don't think the goal is so much, like I said, I can't make the goal so much weight loss, because that's just a really big trigger for me, but just being a better version of myself. I feel like really aligned with myself. I feel like before I would feel like I was juggling a lot of things, could never like carry everything that I had going on, and now it just feels like I'm totally just like aligned and like I can handle things, and it's just a really good feeling. And I feel like also having a kid has helped me just recognize how important my role is. You know, when someone like depends on you, it can really show you, you know, what you can do. So I just feel like I just had a really big awakening. I feel like that's like the thing. I have a really big awakening. But yeah, it's been a really good time, and I'm just so blessed, and I couldn't be happier with how life is going right now. And yeah, I just hope to keep growing in myself, and as a mom and as a wife, and you know, but most importantly myself, I hope to keep awakening, you know, and keep, you know, those good times going with like rediscovering myself and things like that. And I feel like I'm getting to a place now where I look in the mirror and I like know who she is, and I feel like that hasn't happened long before having a baby. So it's really cool. It's a really good time. But I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll definitely be doing another 6 months update, you guys, when he's a year.